Welcome to my vintage film camera collection. A couple months ago I did a live stream showing some of my collection here, but it was vertical video. I know not everybody likes vertical video, not everybody likes the live chat, so I thought I'd just do a regular video today showing you some of my collection. I've got over 150 cameras, so we're not going to go through all of them today. I think I'm just going to go over the top shelf of my camera shelf and give you some of those. I think there's going to be about 20 or so cameras maybe in this video. Little disclaimer too, this is not going to have any fancy edits. We're not going to have any B-roll or graphics or anything like that. This is just going to be an old guy talking about some of his old cameras. So let's dive right in. Take a look first here. We've got the Minolta P's camera, which is one I got not too long ago. I got it for about $10 on eBay. Had to pay some shipping too. It came from Japan. And this is one of those that has a fake panoramic crop on it. So it takes your regular 35mm film gate and then just kind of crops it down, which I can show you here. Maybe you can see that right in there where it's a little bit more narrow. Now, one thing that's different about this one is it is only the panoramic crop. It does not take a regular one and then let you slide a little lever to give you the choice of full frame or panoramic. This one just has the panoramic only. And the thing I like about this one is in the viewfinder, it only gives you that panoramic aspect ratio. So when you look through here, it really just kind of changed how you see the world because you only see it in that panoramic little sliver. And this one is surprisingly capable. It's not the sharpest lens in the shed, but it's good enough to get the job done. This is one that I know that Jeff Greenstein from I Dream of Cameras loves his camera, and I'm a big fan too. So I've gotten a little bit of use out of this. I hope to use it some more too. I wouldn't probably use it as a sole shooter if I go somewhere, but it's nice to have as like a backup or second shooter if you want a little bit different perspective, maybe different film stock, maybe black and white or color in this versus whatever's in your other camera. But nice little second shooter. Along those lines, I've got another Minolta camera here. This fancy little beat up silver case. And this one is the Minolta AFC. And this one you open like this, so you slide that down. This one has a special place in my heart because this is actually the camera that I chose to review for my very first old camera guy video in here, which, believe it or not, has been over 6 years ago. It was July 22nd of 2018, so it's been a minute. But I chose this one because it's kind of an unsung hero. It doesn't get a lot of hype, but it really is very capable. It's 35mm lens, has a fairly fast aperture of 2.8, which is pretty good on a little point and shoot like this. And you can see by the big letters here at the bottom, it is autofocus. And it's got the form factor. It looks a little bit like the Lomo LC-A. That one, of course, is scale or zone focus. This one is full autofocus. And on the side here, it does have ports for a proprietary flash. But if you put the flash on there, it takes away some of its portability. So I don't use flash on this. I really just use it mainly as an outdoor camera. And another cool thing about it is it has the little thumb wind here. It's not an automatic winder, so you have that little thumb wind there. And again, very capable little shooter. I've shot a bunch of film through this one. It does have a self timer button right here that you push down. And again, all in all, nice little camera. One of my favorites. I just brought this one up, so we might as well take a look at this one now. This is actually the Lomo LC-A, and another one that's special to me because this was really my first 35mm camera back in the day. This would have been 1999, so we're looking at about, I guess, a quarter century, 25 years ago, quite a while. This one, again, you open up this way here. It's got a little thing there. And this one, I keep it on A for automatic. And you've got scale or zone focusing, as I mentioned here on the side here. You've got the choice of, I've used mine so much that these are worn off, but it's 0.8, 1.5, 3 meters, or infinity. All the way down is infinity. All the way up is 0.8 meters, or roughly 3 feet or so. So scale or zone focus, and you change the ISO or ASA or EI right here. And this one, again, like the last one I showed you, does have a thumb wind. I've got tape on the back here just to kind of remind me what film stock I have in here when I shoot it. But this one, again, very capable little shooter. But this one too has its own little quirks to it. It's got a very contrasting lens. and sometimes you get interesting light leaks. Sometimes the shutter will drag a little bit, and sometimes you'll get interesting effects around lights and that sort of thing. But this is the one that really got me into photography in the first place, film photography specifically, back in '99. I was just kind of surfing the web as one does, and at the time had a little disposable income, which I've disposed of most of it by now, but found this and thought it was pretty cool. They're the whole 10 rules of lomography. Number 10, I think, is there are no rules, and one of the things is just shoot. You know, don't worry about it, and just kind of, you know, keep it free and easy. So this is one that's very small. You can stick it in your pocket, take it with you everywhere you want to go. So very portable. Love it. Matter of fact, I love mine so much that this might look familiar to you. It's a slightly different version of the LC-A. It's got Cyrillic letters on the top here, so I guess it's over here a little bit different. Cyrillic letters here as well. This one I got from a guy on Facebook, Robert, who is Flashes of Grain, I believe, on Instagram, and he was selling this one for 25 bucks. Which is a great deal because I paid a lot more than that for my original LC-A. He did tell me it's got some quirks to it too, and it's not always super consistent. I haven't actually shot this one yet, which is why you can still see the numbers here for the scale, the zone or scale focus right here. And this one is really kind of a backup in case my first one ever dies. I've got this one up, but I really do need to shoot a roll through this and see how it works. But again, might get some quirks and funky stuff with it. I don't think I mentioned before, it's a 32mm lens, so maybe a little bit wider than the standard lens. And this one also has an f2.8 maximum aperture. So another winner, and a cool little strap on it too. 25 bucks, great deal. Next up, we have one that was definitely less than 25 bucks. This is the Ansco Pix Panorama. You've got a little sliding lens cover here on the front, and that's about its main feature, honestly. And then you open it up, and you can see on the inside here, the panoramic part where that comes in, it does have a crop or a panoramic mask. So again, it's not true panoramic like an X-Pan, but it's also available for a couple bucks at thrift stores, yard sales, stuff like that. And this is one where you can actually pull this little mask out. If you do that, this all of a sudden becomes a full frame camera. So you have the option of pulling that out, obviously before you load your film in there. And I'm going to put it back in for now. But again, very basic. Point and shoot, fake panoramic, fun little camera. I've shot a bunch of rolls through this one too. We have kind of its brother or maybe cousin here. This is the Ansco Pix Flash, and this one has flash in the name, so it does have a flash here, which you activate this little lever here. Same thing, it's got a sliding cover there for the lens. It does say focus free, so you don't have to worry about focusing. If things are about maybe 4 or 5 feet or further, it's mostly in focus. Focus, again, is a relative term on these little plastic point and shoot cameras. If you look on the inside here, this one is full frame. You can actually take that little mask out of the Pix Panorama that I just showed you and stick it in here and make this panoramic if you want to, so that it does fit, because again, these cameras are virtually the same, except this one does include a flash, so you can use it indoors and maybe lower lighting as well. We got kind of a weird one here. This is the Minolta Freedom Dual C. The dual in the name suggests that it has actually 2 lenses, so it's not a zoom lens, which are, zoom cameras are actually very common. This one is 2 lenses. On the top here, it has a lens select, so you push that. Oh, you see that lens pop out there? So one is a wider aspect, and then one is more telephoto. I've got somewhere here, I've got a Nikon camera that is a dually like this too. So this one I haven't shot a lot, but still kind of fun. You can hear that too. Maybe not great for street photography because you're going to attract some attention to yourself, but fun little camera nonetheless. Next up we have here another Minolta. So only from the minds of Minolta, or hashtag Minolta gang. Shout out to King Japes, my buddy Jonathan. So this one is the Minolta Freedom Escort QD. The QD, of course, stands for quartz date because it does have the quartz date on the back. I'm not a huge quartz date guy, so I don't usually even put the battery in for this. But if it is in there, it has a little mode button. You can turn it off if you want. This one, I think, is a very underrated camera. It's got a nice, pretty sharp lens. I like the size of it. It fits in the palm of your hand, so it's nice and stealth. very lightweight. I like the form factor too, which is basically kind of a rectangle, so it's not super aerodynamic, but it's very cool. Again, fits in your pocket, and a very capable shooter on the inside here. Really no surprises there. You can see here these little nubs here are DX code readers, so it does do DX coding. And you slide your film tip over here, so it does have automatic loading, rewind, and wind for you, so it doesn't have a little thumb wheel like some of the other ones we've seen today. So this one, again, if you can find a Minolta Freedom Escort QD for a few bucks on eBay, worth checking out. Doesn't have a big reputation, and that's kind of a good thing, because prices in this one are probably not going to be as high as something like Contax, T2, T3, or a Yashica T4, or one of those fancy cameras that you hear about all the time, because the celebrities don't know about this one yet, so it hasn't hiked up the prices. Along those lines, we have another one here that is, again, very compact, fits in the palm of your hand. This one's super slim too. Look how thin that is. Just basically the same thickness as a roll or cassette of 35mm film. This one is the Nikon Light Touch AF. It is also known as the AF 600. Great little camera. Really like this one. And this is another one of those that, now this one has panoramic, but it gives you the option. So you can see here that it's got these little louvers that go in if you want to do the panoramic. If you want to shoot full frame, you can do that as well. So this one, again, nice little shooter. Does have a macro mode you can use as well. 28mm lens. Not quite as fast as some of the ones we've seen. This is a 3.5 maximum aperture. But again, I love the size of it. This one, again, has the quartz date should you choose to use it. It's on if you want to. You don't have to. Got a couple of flash buttons and modes on the top here. But again, nice little shooters, super slim. And I've shot a bunch of rolls with this one too. Really like this one. Like it so much that I have a backup one for this one too. Now you see the big difference on this one. You can see the lens cover is kind of screwed up. This cost me a whopping $2.99 at one of the Ohio thrifts here around town. But I've shot this one before, and yeah, even though this is kind of messed up, it does not affect the quality of the pictures, because once you power it up, this does open fully. It just doesn't really close fully. So if you're going to keep it where you're not using it for that often, you can just kind of lay it down like this, or put a little cover, or put it in a pouch or something like that, just to protect the lens and from stuff getting in there, dust and dirt and grime and that sort of thing. But all the same features I want to just showed you, because again, it is really the same camera. This one's just in a little bit better shape. This one has, again, the messed up lens cover. Does not affect the quality of the pictures. And for $2.99, it's a nice backup. Next up, we have the Olympus Mju-1 or Olympus Stylus. This one, again, really like this one. There's a recurring theme here. It's another one that's pretty small, fits in the palm of your hand. And this one does not get the hype that the Olympus Mju-2 or Stylus Epic does, but I'll let you in on a little hot take here. I actually think I like this one better than the Mju-2, the one that came out later that gets all the acclaim, for a couple reasons. One reason is I like the ergonomics of it better. I think I can hold on to it better than the weird clamshell of the other one, which I think I might have around here. You might see that here in a minute. The other thing I like a little bit better about this one is on here, when you're going to turn off the flash and that sort of thing, these little buttons on the top, for me, they're easier to access because they're raised a little bit better. So the one, if you maybe call it a disadvantage of this one, is this one, the lens is not as fast. This is a 3.5 lens, which again, outdoors in most situations, obviously you're not shooting at night. Outdoor situation during the day, 3.5 is plenty. This one also, again, has the DX code reader on the inside here. You can see those little things right there. And auto wind, auto everything, really. So very simple one to use, and really like this one as well. Next up, we have the Pentax. So all you Pentax fans like Mike Gutterman out there, who hosts the Negative Positives podcast and is a big Pentax guy. This is the PC35 AF. Done at least one video on this one, maybe two. One of the ones I did was to kind of show you how to turn off. It has this annoying beeping thing that I didn't like, so I went in and turned it off. This one does have a self timer on the On the top there, you can see a little self-timer button. And this one, it's a 35mm lens, maximum aperture again of f2.8. Focus is down to a minimum of 0.7 meters up to infinity. And this one, again, fairly small, maybe a little bit chunkier, a little bit thicker, but this one has some heft to it. It's a little bit heavier, not in a bad way. It just feels like you're holding a more substantial camera, which I think you are. So this one, another solid choice, solid being the key word there, because again, a little bit heftier, very capable. And this one does, even though it has autofocus and auto a lot of stuff, this one has the thumb wheel here, so you do advance it manually with the old thumb wheel, old school style. Next up we have the Olympus Stylus Epic Zoom 80. So the Olympus Stylus Epic Zoom 80, and you can see on the front here, $3.50. So this is in the Stylus family, but this one does have a zoom that goes from 38mm to 80mm, so pretty good zoom range here. And it also has quartz date settings here. You can use that if you want to. And then if you open it up here, again, pretty basic guts. Still has the DX code reader, so if you like DX code readers, it's in there for you. Auto wind, auto everything on this one. One of the things I like about this as far as zooms are concerned is the zoom control is on the top. If the zoom is on the back, I'm not a huge fan of that, because a lot of times I'll wear glasses, and when you're using that to adjust the zoom, sometimes it can kind of scratch up against your glasses. I also don't really like the ones where I have the zoom over here. Sometimes you get a little zoom on the front here. I'm afraid I'm going to get my fat fingers in the way, so I am a big fan of having the zoom on the top like this. So another, again, very capable shooter. Next up, oh, this is the fancy one. So this is the Olympus Mju-1 or Stylus Epic, and this is the one that gets all the hype. It feels kind of like a computer mouse, and this one, again, sometimes I feel like I'm going to get my fat fingers in the way. But this is what I was saying to you before about when you're turning off the flash and stuff like that, you almost have to press your fingernail in there to get this little button in here, and the same thing for the quartz date. Whereas, as mentioned before, the original Mju-1 or the Stylus, the buttons are a little bit raised, so you don't have to kind of dig your fingernail in there, so I actually prefer that one. This one does have the benefit of having a faster lens. It's an f2.8 lens, which is kind of nice. And this particular one I have is the DLX model. It's got this little fake panoramic again. So again, you can kind of put the panoramic in there, put it out. You can see these little things kind of go in and out there that will, again, essentially just crop it and make it look like a panoramic. Not a true panoramic, but this one is kind of legendary, kind of famous for being a cult camera. Good shooter, but I honestly probably like the ergonomics of its big brother maybe a little bit better. Still a nice camera though. And then along those lines, we have another one here. This is the Olympus Stylus 100 wide. And this one happens to have a battery in it there. So you can see, again, the zoom is on the top, which I like. And this kind of comically extends there. So it looks kind of funny like this. But this one does go out to 100mm. One thing that's really cool about this one is it does have a diopter adjustment on the back. So if you do wear glasses or have some vision problems, you can kind of override those problems with this little thing here, which is kind of nice. And the buttons on this one, again, they're a little bit more recessed, so it's a little bit tougher to access. This, I believe, came from my buddy Dwayne out in Iowa, who's just sent me a bunch of cameras for free. So shout out to Dwayne. Appreciate it again. Nice shooter. Got a few more to go through here. This is the Kodak Star 735 for, again, $3.99 at the thrift store. And it says DX program, auto wind, and what you see is what you get with this one. There's not a lens cover that you open up, so it's, again, very basic shooter. Inside, of course, it says use Kodak film. You can use any brand of 35mm film, but being made by Kodak, they're going to push their product, obviously. Good marketing. So this one got a couple more in that line, one of which is the Kodak Star 635. Now this one actually does have a little lens cover there. You can see that. So maybe an upgrade of sorts. It says the same thing on the top. DX programmed, auto wind, 35mm camera. But again, the guts inside. There's that Kodak film branding again. Very basic. And DX coding, as I mentioned. Auto film load, auto everything. Pretty simple. It has an onboard flash you can use as well. Got another one here, and this is the last one that I have in this series, and that is the Kodak Star 275. Again, has a lens, sliding lens cover there. This one says $40 in the back. I clearly did not pay 40 bucks for this. I got this at one of my favorite stores, which is the World of Photography, and it's now located in the general Grandview area, Central Ohio here. But every so often they have sales, and they had a 90% off their clearance room sale. This was in the clearance room, so I did not pay 40 bucks for this. I paid 10% of that, which is 4 bucks. For 4 bucks, you know, pretty good. This one does have a cover here, or actually a lever that you can access to put on the flash if you need it. So I got a couple Star cameras. I've actually not shot with any of those yet. My plan was to do a video called Battle of the Kodak Stars, because when I was growing up many years ago, would have been probably late 70s, 80s, there's a TV show called Battle of the Network Stars, and you'd have all your popular stars from all the TV shows do strange athletic events, including like tug of war and weird stuff like that. They would do relay stuff like that, running, and all that sort of thing. So for people old enough to remember, it's kind of a play on Battle of the Network Stars, Battle of the Kodak Stars. Haven't done it yet. Which leads us to, I think, my last series of cameras here, and that is oldies but goodies, and that is the Olympus XA series. And I've got a bunch of these. This one is the original XA, which is, again, kind of legendary. This one is an actual rangefinder. Again, you can see super, I mean, a real tiny camera there. Fits in the palm of your hand again. Very thin clamshell, so you don't have to worry about losing a lens cap or anything like that. And it gives you the option of apertures all the way from f2.8 to f22. And then you can change the film speed here. And this is actually how you focus the little rangefinder. The patches, you know, now on mine, not super big and not super bright, and for my old eyes, a little bit tougher. So I have not shot this a lot just because it's hard for me to focus, but very well regarded camera. One much less regarded, or not quite as popular by far, is the Olympus XA1. Now the Olympus XA1 has a similar clamshell design. It gives you two choices on the ISO, 400 or 100, which you access in this little thing on the bottom here. You see it's got a kind of a selenium cell around here to use as your meter. This one, you push a little button, take the picture, but this one is focus free, so you don't focus at all with this one. So again, if you're past maybe 4 or 5 feet or further, it's going to be kind of mostly generally in focus. But this one is not a very popular one. It's an f4 lens, so obviously a lot slower than 2.8, and it's a 35 millimeter lens as well. So that one I've shot a couple times. It's okay. It's not as bad as people make it out to be. One that is probably just about as good as people make it out to be is the Olympus XA2. Now this one is not a rangefinder like the original XA. Still has, again, the manual wind here. And this one is zone or scale focus, kind of like the Lomo LC-A that we looked at earlier. And this one, really great camera. It does have, you can change or override the ISO or ASA as it's listed here. And this one to focus, again, you've got just 3 different spots here. This little lever right here. First roll I shot through this, I kind of messed up because I got the focus wrong, because the focusing icons here are in the opposite orientation or direction as the Lomo LC-A. And I was so used to shooting the Lomo LC-A that they're reversed. So this one has the distance or infinity on top. LC-A has it on the bottom, so I was screwing it up for the first roll, something terrible. I've had a lot more experience with it now I know. One other thing I'll mention about the LC-A series is that this little orange button here they use to trip the shutter is a hair trigger. You just basically have to look at it and it's going to fire on you. So this is when you got to be careful. If you have that clamshell design open and you're not paying attention, very easy for it to accidentally snap off a picture, especially if it's like in your pocket or a bag and you just got it bouncing around. So when you're not shooting it, keep that clamshell closed. I did have 2 of these at one point. I gave one of them away at a Beers and Cameras event in Chicago, which I believe was back in May of this year, 2024. And side note, I'm going to go to Chicago again for another Beers and Cameras very soon. Can't wait. Really looking forward to it. We have one more camera to review here or to look at, and that is the Olympus XA3. Very similar to the XA2. This one, the ISO, you can set it up to 1600 as opposed to 800 in some of the other models, so that's a little bit better. 35 millimeter lens again, and this one is an aperture goes up to f3.5. So again, not quite as fast as the original rangefinder, which is 2.8, but this one again has the same zone or scale focus as the XA2. They do have one more model in this range, and that is the XA4, and I don't have that one yet and may not ever get it because it's a lot more expensive. And one of the reasons it does macro photography, or some people call it macro or macro. But that one, what's cool about it is it comes with a lens strap that you measure out to the minimum focusing distance. So you just hold that strap out to your subject and you shoot your picture, and you should be pretty well in focus. Again, this one has the manual wind, and if we open this up, it does have DX code, but again, you can override that DX code just with that little lever on the front here. This is a look at all the cameras on my top shelf. If you like this kind of thing, let me know below, and let me know some of the cameras in your collection. I'm kind of curious to see what other cameras are floating out there, and which one is your favorite. But if you like this sort of thing, again, comment down below and I'll share my shelf number 2 with you. Thanks again for stopping by. Until next time, do some good, have some fun, and shoot some film.